Good morning. Now for your daily horoscope for Monday, 11th August 2025. Aries. This one day when you feel on the edge of either an emotional breakdown or a triumphant apathy, Aries. To ensure a positive outcome, don't take yourself too seriously. There's a degree of intensity to the day that's likely to make everyone feel they've wound up like a spring. One careless move could set off disaster. Do what you can to ease the tension rather than add to it. Taurus. Just because everyone else is walking on eggshells doesn't mean you need to, Taurus. Your upbeat spirit will be more welcome than usual due to the drama around you. Be careful of falling into the role that you know others want you to play. It's easy to take on the role that's in front of you, but this doesn't always help the situation. Read from your own script, not someone else's. Gemini. Your tremendous sensitivity in a certain situation could be causing you to jump to conclusions that are keeping you from seeing the truth, Gemini. Your tendency is to assume things before you have all the facts. You may assume the worst, making you more stressed about the situation than you need to be. Don't worry about things you don't know to be true. Cancer. You may feel like you're doomed if you do and doomed if you don't, Cancer. If you may feel very opinionated about a certain issue, but you know that expressing yourself is likely to cause someone else to feel threatened or upset. But if you keep those thoughts to yourself, you're going to feel resentful and perhaps even used. You're better off expressing yourself honestly. Leo. You may find yourself bursting into tears for no apparent reason today, Leo. Seek comfort in sitting by a body of water where you can let your emotions flow. Tension builds as the storm draws near. Once it has passed, however, there is calm as the sunshine pierces the clouds. This time of peace and serenity may seem far off, but it's closer than you think. Virgo. Unexpected emotions are going to come out of nowhere and cause havoc, Virgo. Be prepared to deal with the expected. The key is not to overreact. The calmer and more stable you can stay, the better off you'll be. Dealing with the situation in a reactive outburst will only turn the scene into an explosive rage. Count to 10 or sit by yourself for a while before you deal with the problem. Libra. You may want more freedom in a certain situation, Libra. Perhaps it's your emotions that you want to distance yourself from, or it feels like someone is smothering you. On one hand, you long for company and intimacy to fill an inner void. On the other, you resent having to be so needy. Make sure you're whole before you sink too deeply into a relationship. Scorpio. You may need to use charm and wit to ease a tense situation, Scorpio. Gridlock could be making you feel uncomfortable. Your solution to the problem is to put on a happy face and divert attention from the difficulty by telling some jokes. Realize that this technique will delay having to face a particular situation for a while, but it certainly won't keep you from ever having to deal with it. Sagittarius. Your emotions are active, Sagittarius, and could be popping up in powerful outbursts. There's momentum building within that you shouldn't ignore or suppress. Perhaps you feel that what you have to say isn't appropriate for the situation. More than likely, it will do more harm than good to ignore these feelings rather than get them out, even when it seems disruptive to do so. Capricorn. You may have a feeling that if you don't have something positive to say, you shouldn't say anything. This idea could keep your tongue tied today, Capricorn. If you're frustrated, angry, or hurt, address the issue openly. Don't feel like you have to be the one who cheers up everyone else. Let someone else have a turn for a change. You're only harming yourself by pretending that everything is okay when it isn't. Aquarius. Don't skimp when it comes to taking care of your physical health, Aquarius. In an effort to save money, you may not bother getting dental checkups, or you could opt for the least expensive doctor in the book. Nothing is more important than your health. Treat your body with the honor and respect it deserves. You may have no trouble doing for others what you know you should be doing for yourself. Pisces. Keeping things in balance may be more trouble than it's worth, Pisces, so don't force the issue. Sometimes it's necessary for our personal growth to let the pendulum swing all the way to one side. The more you can let go and accept that everything isn't going to always be peaceful and harmonious, the better able you will be to deal with the sudden emotional turmoil that is bound to arise. This has been your daily horoscope for Monday, 11th August 2025. Good morning.
Beautiful, spectacular good morning to you, DBS family. It is Monday. I hope a while ago you watched Trevor Lawrence and did some Zumba or some yoga. Anyways, we have a spectacular show lined up for you today, but you know the drill. We gotta check in with the news desk first to see what they have to say, so stick around. We'll be right back.
Good morning. Time now for the news. My name is Timothy Polion. Here is to a very productive and enjoyable Monday. A St. Lucia-based Venezuelan diplomatic official strongly condemns United States action against the president of the South American nation. Washington has doubled its reward for information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro, accusing him of working with foreign terrorist organizations to traffic drugs. This move is being criticized by Venezuelan Ambassador Leif Ascalano, who also claims it is politically motivated due to Venezuela's oil reserves.
Thing that we have to understand is Venezuela has the principal reserve of oil in the world. And this one is why the United States always will attack countries like us, and they are creating this kind of they try to create the kind of chaos. And in fact, in our region, in fact, in the world, in the entire world, when one country is very rich, we have the example of Libya, we have the example of Syria, we have many examples around the world.
It appears that a precedent has been set in a Caribbean nation which has implications for the St. Lucia government if it fails to deal appropriately with the bullying of students. A High Court judge in Trinidad and Tobago has ordered the government to pay compensation in excess of TT $500,000 after ruling that schools have a solemn legal duty to ensure the safety and welfare of students in a case where a schoolgirl was seriously injured by bullies. Justice Nadia Kangaloo, delivering her judgment in a case in which a 15-year-old girl was violently assaulted at a secondary school in 2017, said that the Couva West Secondary School in central Trinidad breached its statutory and common law duties of care when it failed to prevent or adequately respond to repeated bullying incidents that culminated in the brutal attack, leaving the victim permanently disabled. The teen was assaulted twice in one day on school premises by two fellow students, one of whom had a documented history of bullying her. She sustained head trauma, post-concussion syndrome, chronic pain, and a 20% permanent partial disability. In its ruling, the High Court noted that the students' injuries were foreseeable and preventable, given the school's prior knowledge of the aggressor's behavior. That story once again emanating out of Trinidad and Tobago. We continue the broadcast with news that the St. Lucia Tourism Authority has hailed its just concluded Industry Insights Conference a pivotal success. The forum sought to provide local tourism operations with key insight for today's business climate.
That we have a handle on the new marketing techniques that are coming through the digital space. And this is something that we take for granted, and it's not as simple as it's done on a personal level, but what it takes to get you out within the framework of people who are looking for the products that we have as a country. While the destination agency portrays what's available in St. Lucia, it's also the responsibility of the individual operators, both those who provide accommodation as well as those who provide sites and attractions and experiences. How do we work together in a synergy to ensure that St. Lucia remains top of mind for as a place that persons would choose for their vacation? And this is really the lifeblood of St. Lucia as a tourism destination. And we were able to have some speakers who really brought that into sharp focus on how we can do better at what we have been doing good for the time being.
Finally, from us this morning, 3 councillors of the Castries Constituencies Council have just returned from an assignment in Venezuela. The trio were among several international officials who observed the country's municipal elections last month. One of the attendees describes the process as peaceful and smooth.
By 2025 municipal elections clearly reaffirm the institutional legitimacy of the Venezuelan democratic system and mark a strategic victory for the PSUV, while also signaling the rise of a new opposition within the existing legal framework. This electoral process sends a powerful message to the world about the participatory and leading democracy of the Venezuelan people.
And that's the news. Thank you so much for watching. Join us at noon for our next news major, the Lunchtime Report. I'm Timothy Polio. Good morning.
Thank you so much, News Desk. As always, stick around. It's DBS Morning. We'll be right back. Us men, we always, tend to shy away from speaking about issues, things that affect us all the time. Well, here comes an opportunity provided to us by the Donation Foundation. They have a men's forum coming up, and we caught up with one of the organizers to speak more about this. Let's see what he has to say. Now, I'm joined here by Isaiah Lord with the E, so he doesn't get struck by lightning, as he said earlier. All right. One of the organizers for the Donation Foundation's Men's Forum. Now, it is very important, very integral that as men, we do come together and we do discuss a lot of the issues that do affect us because we tend to be more in an eggshell, more, away from it and whatever. How important is this, and tell us about this forum?
Okay, well, I'm very happy that we're actually having this type of forum. The idea behind the forum is very simple. You know how, as guys, when we get into the barbershop, we talk about everything? Oh, yeah. And stuff we don't talk about around our girlfriends, our wives, that kind of stuff. Is to have a forum like that in St. Lucia for the very first time, effectively. All right? So we'll be talking about a range of issues, the kind of issues that affect us as men in St. Lucia, but in like what we like to call a safe space, where we are able to freely discuss it with respectful conversations, with open and honest conversations about the things that are currently affecting us. I don't need to remind anybody of some of the issues that are affecting men. We just have to turn on the news and we can see some of the dire situation, especially of the younger men in this country. And so we at Donation have come up with this forum where we will have key speakers in various topics pertaining to the family, wellness, mental health, etc., entrepreneurship, those sort of things from men's perspective. Right? So we'll have leaders in those fields, some from St. Lucia, some from other places, to give a key insight from their own experience as to how we as men can handle the thing that we call life. Yeah? And so that's what we want to leave. And in putting it together, one of the things that I wanted was that it would not just be a one-time event, because we have lots of meetings. St. Lucia is one of the capitals of meetings. Yeah? All right? So we have lots of meetings. But we wanted it to be something where it's not just an event that we come together. There are activities after the event that come out of it. So things that would be raised, areas that in the discussions we realize need to have greater emphasis. There'll be activities post-event that we have planned in to kind of start the ball rolling. I think there's something that struck me a while back. If you watch every revolution in every country around the world, it's always when the men get organized and impassioned enough that change actually happens in a country. Yeah? So that's the little spark that we want to start.
Why is it important to have these kinds of forums? Why is it important for men now to actually have these spaces to express themselves more, to open up more, to speak more on issues and other things that may just be putting us in their lives?
There's a statement, I have experienced it myself, that men die alone. And men die in quiet. And there are lots of families around this nation that have the experience of a guy that they knew who committed suicide, for example. And that's one of the areas that we'll touch on. And he didn't know. And one of the things that happens is that we go through stuff and we try to handle it because as men, we want to be able to handle it and conquer it by ourselves. But one of the things we are good at as men is that we work well in teams. We all watch sports, right? And from personal experience, I had a really rough patch. And one of the things that really helped me is I had some brothers I had a friend of mine who called me from Antigua, and he was guiding me for a particular process. I have friends here that I would sit down and talk and say, "Boy, how I dealing with that? How I, you know?" And so, one of the things we also have lost in our society, that we have in other societies around the world, is that you have the older men speaking to the younger men so that they have an idea as how to handle the changes of life. If you watch someone, a young man who's had a motorcycle accident, it wasn't just the straight way that caused the issue. It's when he hit a turn. And we are notorious for not being able to hit the turns of life. And so, because we don't have people ahead of us showing us how to deal with it. And so, the idea, and if I have to articulate a vision for it, is that you have sort of like an army of men coming together to help each other so that we can become better. And if we become better, we can make this nation better. So that's the basic idea. Yeah.
How can now a man, well, more specifically a young man who may be watching here, get access to this forum to participate, to be a part of it, and so on?
Well, it's going to be at Bear Gardens on August 16th. It's free, which is one of the nicest words in the world. It's free. But even though it's free, there's be a lot of value at it because we have a very qualified gentlemen and leaders who will be at the event. I'm very grateful to know that we have gotten sponsorship from major companies in the island. Lucilec is one of them. Big Gardens, of course, who has the site, and others. Yes, so it'd be something that is really impactful, and I'm happy to be part of it. Yeah.
So, young men out there, all men out there actually, let's not miss out on this opportunity. It's a fantastic way to come forward as men, to gather together, to speak, to have discourse, to just better ourselves overall. All right. So let's not sleep on that. Let's capitalize on this. All right, guys. All right, any last words?
Come out, show out, and be part of it.
Recently we called up with Yvonne Edwin to speak a bit about Toastmasters, but we have her in a different capacity now because we have to capitalize at the end of the day. Yvonne has tapped into more of a creative side of herself in the writing sphere. Yeah, she's doing that. Let's see what she has to say about her journey.
How many still have to suffer at the hands of these colonial masters? Modern day slavery is a true reality.
All right, DBS family, of course, you saw here some time back. We're back again, this time in a different capacity or in a different tone. Yvonne Edwin back here first once again, and we're here to speak on something a bit on a serious side, of course. We all go to work, we all enjoy work sometimes, but there's a darker side to things that we don't usually highlight, and it does affect us on a daily. Private sector and in the public as well. Yvonne, you created a piece to highlight these kind of things, to spread awareness or to bring more or less a spotlight to these kinds of issues and so forth. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
So even in light of emancipation, and we talk about emancipation as if it was, but emancipation and truly being free requires an active involvement of doing so. And we find ourselves in workspaces, in workplaces that have a means of some level of oppression. And that in itself affects our well-being. And we see this happening day in, day out. The silence of people does not really reflect what is truly happening or truly reflected. And in a sense, it articulates a version of modern day slavery. And on the heels of emancipation, in a month of emancipation, I felt it so, liberating for me to launch this piece. I didn't even understand myself having this creative side, but I do have pieces that I have not put out there. And sometimes if you live through something or you have a testimony, an experience, you actually could articulate that emotion even better. And sometimes it doesn't just align to you, but what other people are facing. expressing. I know too many stories as a trade unionist as well. You go through, you hear that the silence, the percentage of the silence in a space never really tells the true story. And so somebody sometimes has to speak out. And so my piece is dedicated. My name is always, or is the name that I use is Speechless, but also saying, you know, or giving my thoughtful diction according to what is happening in and around me. And so these pieces are launched for emancipation, for those who are silently, you know, shackled somewhere in a corner and not allowed to speak on the things that are affecting them.
Why do you think, though, that that kind of environment has even fostered in the first place and is kept here still?
I think it's fostered because of what we see. If you look at those movies, if you look at a movie, take for example, The Straw, and you know, and we say it all the time, you know, sometimes it's your last resort. You know, you're so frustrated with something that sometimes your character at the time, you know, it showcases something outside of who you are because of that frustration, that anger, or these other emotions associated to that. And again, I think the piece is doing just that. It's articulating versions of what people would have gone through. And again, as a Toastmaster, as a public speaker, as somebody who does women and youth empowerment, I've seen this. I've seen this in workspaces as a trade unionist. I've seen this in spaces, in relationships where people don't articulate what they're feeling. And for me, the feeling and the emotion in this piece is for the unspoken.
I know you're about to launch. You're in preparations to launch very soon and so forth. When you do launch, where can we then find?
I'm not sure of the platform. I'm not a social media person. I have no social media handles. If you get me, it's on the phone. I like to talk. I like to speak. And so I am not the social media person. You would be able to find my page or Instagram. But I'm sure, like they say, rumors travel fast, but good things take time. And so if this speaks to you in any way, I'm sure you would reach out. I like spoken word. I like that sort of artistry. So it's just my means of expressing myself. And so it's been launched in Emancipation, and for me it's an opportunity to highlight this. Again, mental wellness is important, and being shackled in offices or silenced by, you know, oppression is not a means. And we may think that we've broken from slavery, but this modern day slavery is a true reality.
Question before the last. How now persons who do feel trapped or are trapped, in your own words, how do you think they can get out? Or some of the ways they can?
One of the ways that you can is always speaking through problems or speaking through issues. Dialogue is always important. In no way, shape or form, you should bottle it up. And I've learned this through time. I mean, I'm not a specialized in counseling or any therapist at all. I just know what life presents. And all I could say is that we need avenues, and in the government service, in private sector, we need avenues for persons to provide them with a platform that they can articulate these emotions. And maybe some of what we're seeing in societies as a result of all these trapped traumas, you know, people have issues with family, they have issues with friends, they have issues across. But where do you express it? I'm using this platform. So,
of course, Yvonne, you did say this is kind of like a newfound talent of yours. I'm pretty it does run in the blood, because if you don't know about her son, Kevon, my good buddy, big up yourself, my bro. Anyways, will you continue writing?
I will continue writing. I think there is always an opportunity for that. And like I said, I think what works best, even in people who write books or stories or tell poetry or do spoken word, it's always best through an experience. And so I have pieces, and I will continue to do so best I can.
And we will look forward to all the amazing pieces you produce in the future. And wherever they launch, wherever they may be, we will find them. We will let Senator know where they are. Of course, thank you so much for being with us once again, Yvonne. Do enjoy the rest of your day. This is DBS Morning Soca First. We'll be right back.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's SocaCize session. Leading the wine, we have Suzanne from Studio Fit and Healthy 911 and myself, Shani, from SocaCize St. Lucia. Let's get ready to flaunt with SocaCize. For this morning's workout, we will be doing a cardio soca jam routine to Plaque by Umpa and Servants. Let's go. All right, so we're gonna dip in our laundry basket and hang out the clothes. Let's go. Down, up, down, up, down. Let's go. 4 more. 4, 3, 2. We're gonna lunge and squat. Let's go. Lunge. Squat. Squat. Right. Yes. Keep going. Chest up. Right. 4, 3. In our hands, we wash it. Let's go. Next load. Down and let's go. Woo.
Now wash it clean. You're bending skills, giving chills.
4,
Squeaky clean.
3,
Now wash it clean.
2.
You're bending skills,
Lunge,
giving.
squat.
Make sure your knees strong.
Yes.
When you bend down,
Aha.
or you scoop down, washing the form. Make sure your knees strong. When you bend down, or you
4,
scoop down,
3, 2.
washing the
Wash it.
form.
Wash it.
It's making black. Position now black. One body go black. Take that out, black.
Let's go.
Squeaky clean. Now wash it clean. You're bending skills, giving chills. Squeaky clean.
3,
Now wash it clean.
2.
You're bending skills.
Lunge.
Make sure you get strong when you bend down or you scoop down. Washing the form. Make sure your knees strong.
As low as you can go.
Or you scoop down. Washing the
Wash it.
form.
Wash it.
It's making black.
Hey.
Position now black. One body go now black. Take that out, black. It's making black. Position now black.
Hey.
One body go now black. Take that out, black.
Squeaky.
Squeaky clean. Now wash it clean. You're bending skills, giving chills.
4,
Squeaky clean.
3,
Now wash it clean.
2.
Bending skills,
You know it.
giving. Make sure your knees strong when you bend down. Or you
Now if you can't go too low, that's okay. Step
Make sure
it.
your knees strong
Good.
when you bend down. Or you
4,
scoop down.
3.
Washing the
Last
form.
load. Last load.
It's making black. Position now black. And when you go now black. Take that out, black.
Woo! That was this morning's session. We hope you are feeling sexy, sultry, and strong. Do remember to flaunt today.
And of course, all great things must come to an end. And that's just today, by the way. We still have the rest of the week to go. Of course, guys, have an amazing day. Drink some water. Be kind to somebody. And of course, tomorrow, same time, same place, right here on DBS This Morning. We have another great show lined up for you. Have a great one. Vision out. Peace.